think the key for Kaylin Arnold today is going to be that she's going to have to make sure she's staying within herself and throw her game. Not let NC State, they kind of picked away at her, had some pesky hitters that fouled off a lot of pitches. So Kaylin's just going to have to tighten up just a little bit on those corners, make sure she's working the change, and I think she's going to have a good day.
We are underway here in Tallahassee. And Arnold squares off with Sam Russ, who's leading things off. A lot of speed at the top of the order. Randy Farraker swinging a hot bat. Rizzi the home run. Morris is the RBI leader of the conference. Visser's been coming on strong. Sapp has had a good weekend. Shaner has had a good weekend as well. As you look up and down that Wolfpack lineup, they've been able to generate hits pretty much all weekend, Megan. They just haven't been able to push the runs across with regularity until Game 3. So they have put pressure on Florida State's pitching and defense. It just took a few games for them to really be able to cash it in.
I think, too, they see, I mean, this is what happens with teams, right, and hitters. You see different pitchers better than others. And I think they were kind of seeing even Sandercock. Sandercock threw a good game, but they were still putting the bat on the ball with her, and then, of course, against Watson. But I think NC State was seeing the ball better off of those two pitchers.
The count 2-2 here to Sam Russ. The junior from Charlotte, North Carolina, majoring in biological sciences. NC State trying to even the series at 2 games apiece. Florida State trying to win it 3-1. This ball is lifted down the line, and making the play down the line is another senior for the Seminoles, Cassidy Davis. So on 5 pitches, Russ is retired. And Davis is joined in the outfield by Danny Morgan and Kaylee Harding. Josie Muffley, who gave Davis the high five there, joined by Devin Flaherty up the middle of the infield. Out on the corners are Cheryl and Lizzie Mason. We've introduced you to Arnold, and then, of course, Anna Shellnut getting the start behind the plate. Here is Tatiana Forbes, better known as Tati. In her 3rd different school, she's been a consistent force at the plate wherever she's been. And she slaps at that one. Once again to Davis, 2 down.
See, Kaylin Arnold's already starting the game in a little bit different tone. She's being efficient. She's only thrown 7 pitches so far. That was a good use of her changeup. I like how she's bringing that early. I think with NC State, anytime you have a power swinging team, the use of a changeup and an off speed is really clutch against those types of hitters.
And that brings up Randy Farraker. And to your point, Megan, the way that they've retooled this lineup for NC State, they did so in the attempt to bring Farraker up to the plate with runners on. And so with Arnold being able to effectively mix her speed so far, it limits that damage potential off the bat of Farraker. Quickly 0-2 to the shortstop who started the year as the first baseman. Some injury issues up the middle led to her taking over at short, and she has been rock solid. Has a cannon of an arm, can make all kinds of plays, and she's also done so at the plate. Just caught a piece of that to stay alive. Farraker was one of the middle hitters of the order on Friday, and it was those 4, 5, 6, 7 hitters that really gave Kaylin Arnold fits. To Arnold's credit, she came away winning the vast majority of those battles, or if she didn't win them in the moment, she would strand the runners aboard, but they saw a lot of pitches, and Farraker was one of those.
Oh, good thought there. Nice looking pitch. Farraker has that power like we talked about. Of course, I'm not sure if there's really any hitter in the NC State lineup that doesn't, but You can see Arnold's taking the same approach to Farrakher as she did in Friday night's game. Rise, 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 and then she tries to come in and freeze her there on the outside corner with a curve. I like the placement of that pitch, just outside.
What a nice start for Kaylin Arnold, and I'm not sure nice does it justice. Efficient is probably the best word to use. And the senior, on her senior day, retires the side in order. Good crowd on hand here on Sunday in Tallahassee, both inside and outside of the Seminole Softball Complex. And they will see Abby Trahan for the third time in 4 games get the nod in the circle for Jennifer Patrick Swift and the Wolfpack. And when you pitch the way she's pitched this weekend, Megan, hard to argue with that logic. ERA a touch above 3.5 through 99 combined innings, but don't let the stats lead you to think that she has been anything but dominant this weekend.
Trahan has been very effective against the Florida State lineup. I mean, she throws lower in the speed zone, so in that low 60s is where she lives. But what has made her so effective are kind of 2 things. Is one, she's very efficient. She's going to stay around the zone most of the time, not going to throw a whole lot of balls, at least she hasn't. And 2, she's going to mix at least 3 different speeds on her pitches, and that has given Florida State fits.
And she will square off with the Florida State batting order that is now led off by Elizabeth Mason. In case you're just joining us for the first time this weekend, in game 2 of this 4-game set, Lizzie Mason, after the home run on Friday, moved up to the leadoff spot for the first time since the Arizona series. For context's sake, that was the 2nd week of March. So this is a bit of a throwback to some of the earlier lineups of the season. Now there's some different names and faces that are in the order today, but the top of the lineup looks eerily similar to what we've seen from the early parts of this season. Without further ado, there you see it. Mason, Cheryl Harding at the top with Cass Davis batting cleanup. Danny Morgan's been swinging a pretty hot bat this weekend, drove in 2 runs in the loss in game 3. She moves all the way up from the 9 spot to the 5 spot, followed up by Shelnut, Flaherty, Muffley, and Dion Riggs getting the nod as the DP.
I think for Florida State today, they're going to have to be extremely patient. They've got to decide on a pitch that they want to sit on. So and every pitch is going to be different for every hitter. So for instance, what does Mason want to hit? What does she feel comfortable with? It may be that because Trahan throws so many changeups and off speeds that she waits on one of those. Not the ideal pitch to hit, but sometimes that's what you have to do.
Does it make it any more difficult? Because I know the scouting report on Trahan is the fact that she throws 2 different types of changeups. Does it make it a little bit more difficult as a hitter to determine which one you sit on?
You know, I've been looking for it. I cannot tell the 2 different types of changeups. It would have to do with the way she's letting go of the ball, and so it would affect the movement of it. So I've seen an off-speed, which I think is an off-speed that kind of moves down in the zone, but her 2 changeups that are the changeups that I've seen kind of look similar. They look like changeups.
Ground ball to short, and there's Farrakher's arm on display up the middle. She retires the speedy Mason, who got down the line in a hurry. So on 5 pitches, Mason is retired. Farrakher joined up the middle by April Visser. Out on the corners, it's Logan Morris, Haley Hazlett. Out in the outfield, Russ Rizzi and Forbes with Sam Sack behind the plate, catching for Trahan.
So to kind of just finish that thought, you know, you're looking for just an either the off-speed or the changeup, and it's more about seeing it in their vision, in their tunnel where they want to see that pitch versus the different type of changeup.
So we'll see how Cheryl will fare here, her first trip to the plate against Trahan here this afternoon. It took Abby only 71 pitches to work through the Seminoles yesterday evening.
Sydney Cheryl was effective against Trahan, and you can see Trahan's really trying to stay out of the zone. In Friday's matchup, Cheryl was hit by a pitch. She had 2 hits, and then she was also walked that 3rd at bat, so she got on base every time.
And then to follow that thought in game 3 yesterday, flied out to center, grounded out to short and did end up reaching on the fielder's choice in the 6th.
Yeah, but when you're looking at just against Trahan, oh, I guess, yeah, she did throw against her in the 3rd game too, didn't she? She only threw 70 pitches, Trahan, last game.
Yep. A no-brainer for Jennifer Patrick Swift to put her back into the circle, especially when that pitch count's that low.
Absolutely. Matter of fact, I think we called it when we walked out last night.
We sure did. Quality at-bat there for Sydney Sherrill, working a 1-out walk. And we've mentioned the head coach of the Wolfpack, Jennifer Patrick Swift. And it's a really cool story. We've touched on it a little bit, Megan. Coach Patrick Swift, in her 3rd season with the Wolfpack, her maiden name is Patrick, and for generations before her, coaching is in the blood, and so it meant a lot to her to be called Coach Patrick. Well, she married Patrick Swift, who happens to be her assistant coach, so to maintain Patrick in her last name, she took on his last name. It just so happens that her last name, or at least her maiden name, also happens to be his first name. So you've got 2 different Patrick Swifts as your coaches, but in 2 different respects.
Yeah, and I think even, I was kind of wondering, did she take Patrick's first name? And because you don't really see that, and then it was explained to us what happened, so we thought we'd share that with you all, because I know there's somebody out there asking the same question.
Well, it is Jennifer Patrick Swift, who is the head coach of the Wolfpack. She, too, was the head coach when they were up at St. Francis of PA, where the home run mindset really took form. In fact, Abby Trahan was their pitcher up there for a couple of years before they made the move to NC State, and she went to Southern Miss for a year.
And you really don't see, we were trying to think of other married couples that were coaching.
Aside from the Weekleys at Tennessee, hard to come up with any. Trahan couldn't get the glove on the grounder, and by the time it looked like Farraker was able to get up there and pick it, Harding was safe at first.
Haley Harding has so much speed. We saw her use that speed in game 1, where she actually had kind of a similar hit, didn't leave the infield, and was able to beat the throw to first, which allowed the run from 3rd to score, which ended up being the winning run. She just brings that much speed to the table.
That ball is drilled down the line, and the Seminoles will strike first. Cassidy Davis rips a double down the line, and it's 1-0 Seminoles.
Davis wasn't wasting any time. Trahan comes up in the zone with her changeup. Davis saw something as what she liked to hit. She sure did. She got all of that one for as much as you can without it leaving the park, right?
So now runners are in scoring position for Danny Morgan. Morgan with 199 hits in her Florida State career. Also ranks 8th in FSU history all-time in RBI. And then there's Davis, who you see stationed in scoring position. And I'll follow up the thought that I shared yesterday. It seems like every time Florida State is looking for a timely hit or to advance runners or to make a statement, it's Davis at the plate who, with regularity, seems to be delivering. And it's hard to really put a value to that because it's really invaluable, Megan.
I think that's something that Coach Lonnie Alameda has talked about, that the team has improved upon in the last 20 games or so, is just their ability to come up in with runners on board and to produce. So that's situational hitting, but it has to start with awareness. The hitter has to know, here's the layout of the land, and ideally this is where I'd like to get a hit. You don't want them overthinking that, so it has to be a practice situation, and she thinks that that's something that the team has gotten better at. She's proud of it. She should be. That's a hard concept to get through.
Morgan tried to lay down the bunt. It goes foul. Valiant effort by Sam Sack trying to dive underneath it. She popped it up just a touch. So Sack laid out to see if she couldn't get that glove underneath it.
Coach Alameda talked about, what do you get with NC State? Well, they're going to try to swing for the fence. They're going to be aggressive on the base pass, and they're going to play solid defense. So we know that about them. Well, one thing that others have to know about Florida State is if there's a runner on third base, they're probably going to have a squeeze attempt. And I've seen them do that in almost every game.
Throw comes home, and the tag is applied. Heads up defense by Randy Farraker.
So here you see ground ball right at Farraker. Defense is in, force, or tag there, excuse me.
So here is Coach Swift making his way out to the circle.
Yeah, I think I don't know if there was a sign on, but that ball was hit right at Farraker. Farraker was pulled in. The defense was trying to cut off, for a play at home. But Harding didn't have to go. I don't think bases were loaded. So with a ball hit right at the defensive player like that, I really think she should have held up and maybe made Farraker think about the throw to buy the runner time to get to first. Because anytime it's hit right at him, that's even if you have speed, that's going to be, you can see, wasn't close.
Yeah, absolutely. So Florida State trying to scratch across a second run, ends up getting thrown out at the plate. Worth mentioning that Cass Davis was able to tag up at second. She advances to third now, so runners aren't on the corners after Morgan reaches on what will go down as a fielder's choice. And so now it's Anna Shelnut. She shows bunt. Morgan goes ahead and swipes second. Nobody covering the bag. That was as easy a stolen base as she'll see all day.
How about it, Woodley? How about it? Take a ball around right here.
Fanned at that one. Anna Shelnut has consistently been batting out of the middle part of the order, 4th, 5th, or 6th all weekend long. She pops up to right, and it's into the glove of Tati Forbes. But Florida State has struck first here at home, and guess who? Cassidy Davis doubling down the line off Abby Trahan, who's been terrific all weekend. But it's the Seminoles at home on Senior Day, up 1-0 through 1.
On social media, videos, photos.
Florida State goes on the road to close the regular season, so today is their Senior Day. Rachel McGee, Sam Segreto, Leslie Ferris, Kaylin Arnold, Cass Davis, Anna Shelnut, all season Anna, Danny Morgan,
5 years at Florida State with 9 RBIs,
and of course Lizzie Mason.
2 home runs.
What a senior class, and of course a nod to Carl Mason. Carl and Sarah have been institutions here at Florida State during Lizzie's career. And there you see the cutouts, and what a senior class this was. Coach Alameda making it very clear that she also wanted to make sure that Leslie Ferris got honored this weekend. Megan, a lot of seniors had really tough decisions to make. A lot of these players that we saw in the gold jerseys ended up being able to make the decision to stay. Leslie Ferris moved on in her career. She was honored today as well, and that was a nice touch. But when you look at that 2016 recruiting class, their record, 220, 45-2, 90, 12-1 in conference play, 113 home runs, 59 RBI, all those ACC tournament titles. They haven't lost one. They've won the ACC regular season as well. And then, of course, the Piece de Resistance, if you will, the national title in 2018.
Definitely incredible careers, and these athletes are respected across the country in the softball world. And I know that people are looking forward to see if any of them will get drafted to go pro and continue their careers.
Danny Morgan has plans for graduate school, and she hauls in out number 1 here in the top of the second. Hey, Megan, where's she heading for grad school?
She's going to be a Gamecock.
I know somebody who's a Gamecock.
I know somebody too. I know lots of people.
Do you now?
I do. But I'm also a Seminole. Fun fact, I have a degree from here.
You know what? I do too.
Shock.
Wow. Here's Logan Morris, junior from Sumter, South Carolina. Mason calling for it. She's got it. And that brings up April Visser.
So Visser was a little bit of a thorn in Kaylin Arnold's side. So on Friday night's game, Kaylin Arnold literally threw about 30% of the pitches she threw that game were to April Visser. So, and it was just a matter of Visser was just finding a way to get a piece of the bat on the ball. So a lot of foul balls made Kaylin throw a lot of pitches.
Sophomore from Salt Lake City, batting .230. Those numbers have been on the rise here over the last 10 or so games. 7 of her 14 hits on the year have come in those 10 games. But this one is popped up. Cheryl has secured it. And Kaylin Arnold's... This is the bottom part of the order for Florida State. Devin Flaherty, the freshman from Sarasota, Florida, will be followed up by Josie Muffley and Dion Riggs. The numbers for Flaherty, .270, her batting average, 4 home runs, 15 RBI. Several base hits yesterday for Flaherty, a double off the top of the wall in right field included amongst them. That was in game 2 of the doubleheader, had a couple of singles in game 1 of the doubleheader. And when leading off in innings, Flaherty is batting a cool .341. Trahan hitting with strike 1 to make it 1-1. And Megan Flaherty is going to be a lot of fun to watch as she continues throughout her Florida State career. Bounced around the outfield and infield defensively over her first year, and it was an abbreviated one, has found a home at second, and has been rock solid from the drop here at the plate.
Yeah, I think you took the words right out of my mouth. I mean, she's just been consistent. I don't really know what else to say about that. She's one of those athletes that you know she's there and she makes a good play, and when she does, it's great. And then she kind of is so consistent that I don't want to say you forget about her, because you don't, but you don't keep remembering until she has another play. It was a good pitch by Trahan over here on the outside corner. Flaherty didn't like the call. So anything on the white, the ball has to hit some part of the white. Top of the ball to the top of the knees when it's low in the zone.
I was just about to ask you what you thought of that pitch. I liked it too.
I did, but see, that's the thing, is that I try not to argue balls and strikes, because 1, it doesn't matter. 2, we can't, even with the replay, we can't see what the umpire can see. And 3, nobody except for that umpire is trained to see the strike come across the plate where it needs to be. So it really, we can not like a call, but in the grand scheme of things, because we don't like it, or a pitcher doesn't like it, or a catcher doesn't like it, that doesn't make the call different. You have to adjust.
Josie Muffley thought that one caught her on the elbow. She gave the bat a fling. David Reinecker says, no, it did not. I would imagine this is going to be incredibly close.
And it was close. Hard to tell. I mean, we didn't see the ball deflect, so it would have to go by sound, which we can't hear.
Well, might as well introduce the rest of the umpires. Reinecker joined by Philip Friels at first. He's stationed there right behind Hazlip, who secures out number 2. Frederick Ewald over at third.
I know Phil and David, they have been around umpiring for many, many years. Started the original crew when the SEC was started, 96, 97. They even called my games when I played in college. And what I do know about this entire crew is they are well trained, and they're going to do their best to get the call. They're going to miss some calls, but they're going to do their best to get it right, and they really try to make an effort. They take pride in that. I think something that is important for folks to remember is the umpires missed out on a lot of practice. So normally in a non-COVID year, they're at travel ball games trying to get reps. They're coming to team practices and scrimmages trying to get reps, and they weren't allowed to do that. So they haven't seen near as many pitches as they should have by this point in the year, and everybody is going to be behind.
Dion Riggs with the single up the middle, giving a nod to Leslie Ferris. We mentioned she was the lone senior who wasn't able to return to the roster. Her number was 26, so the DP numbered 26, records a base hit. You might have saw that 26 right behind her as she was stationed at first. Some pretty cool symmetry there. She turns the order over to Elizabeth Mason, who looks at an 0-2 from Trahan. Sack up and out of her stance to hold Dion at first. Mason grounded out, just short. Seminoles tried to set up the hit and run there. So Mason sees another after fouling that one off. She's 273 on the season with runners on base. Right back up the middle. And just able to stay on the bag long enough was April Visser. Jennifer Patrick Swift said before this series started that Visser has been making some SC top 10 caliber plays at second. I think that certainly qualifies to retire the side as we head to the bottom of the second. Welcome back to Tallahassee as we take a look inside that NC State dugout. Top of the third here at the Seminole Softball Complex. And we're looking at April Visser, who, Megan, as a pitcher, when you have your infielders, your middle infielders especially, who make those kind of plays behind you, gotta love that.
Well, I think that just showed Visser's athleticism big time there. I mean, if you go back and you watch that hit, it was a well-hit ball by Mason right up the middle of the field. So Visser was having to cut over. Her momentum was carrying her towards third base, and she had the presence to keep her feet on second base just long enough to catch the ball and make the out. Not easy. She made it look easy, definitely not easy.
So we'll see if that maybe translates to a little momentum offensively. Just 19 total pitches for Kaylin Arnold to get through the first two frames. It'll be Sam Sack, the catcher, getting things started. From New Jersey, batting average near 230. And the count goes 1-1. Sack actually batting above 250 when leading off innings. 1 for 3 on Friday. And then recorded another hit in Game 3 yesterday. crunch the numbers, roughly 10 pitches per inning for Arnold. Sack has already seen 4.
But even though, I mean, Kaylin Arnold is still very efficient today. I mean, she usually is pretty efficient anyway. She's around the plate. She doesn't throw a whole lot of balls.
Well, the count is now full to the catcher, Sam Sack. And that's a well-hit ball up the middle. 3 hits in 4 games this weekend for Sack. Quality at bat, NC State's first base runner of the afternoon.
Arnold's got a full count here, so she's trying to come inside, but look where the pitch goes. It's up in the zone, over the heart of the plate, and that's something that hopefully Arnold's seeing. Like I said before, just tightening up. I've said this before, but at this level, particularly at this stage of the season, any pitcher is going to really be playing a fun game of sorts the closer you come over the middle of the plate. Doesn't matter if you're throwing a rise, a drop, a change, a curve. You've got to live on those corners at this point.
And so that brings up Carson Shaner. Big cut there from Carson. Count 0-1 to the redshirt junior out of Pittsboro, North Carolina. Tried to bunt over a pinch runner in Gracie Roberts. So the junior, again, a sport management major. Starting to see a little bit more time this season, just her 13th start on the year. Worth mentioning, these are the top 2 teams in terms of stolen base and stolen base percentage in the conference. And so when you get those runners aboard, it's going to keep Sam Sack and Anna Shelnut both on their toes, either side.
Well, you can see, and Shelnut was set up way outside on that last pitch, and you can see how she keeps checking Sack down there
NC State
at first.
Yeah, and NC State, sorry about that, Megan, the only team in the country that has 60 home runs and 60 stolen bases on the year. Part of that home run mindset for Jennifer Patrick Swift and company. And Megan, I think you've done a really good job of talking about how it doesn't just encompass what they do at the plate. Obviously, when you think of home run mindset, home runs is a crucial part of it, but just the aggressiveness in general, it's translated to the base paths as well.
Yeah, I'll come back to that, but how about Kaylin Arnold? She was behind in the count, had gotten ahead 3 straight balls, because I think they were trying to keep Sack over there on first base in check, and so she didn't really have anywhere to go. And what a nice, tight rise ball in the inside corner. Good pitching right there. Yeah, and just to kind of get back to that home run mindset, it's not for NC State, it's not just about at the plate, it's in all areas of the game, whether it's defense in the circle, but it also carries off the field too. So in the classroom, what they're trying to get through to these athletes is, you know, I've used this example because it comes from Coach Patrick Swift. You know, when you go and you have a presentation or you have an interview of some sort or anything you're going to do, what do people always say? Hey, go
knock it out of the park.
Knock it out of the park. They don't say, hey, go bunt, go get a single. They always say, go knock it out of the park. So Coach Patrick Swift has been trying to instill in the athletes, go big or go home.
Well, Bridget Nordberg has gone big plenty of times in her career, and this is not a move that's very atypical for NC State. They like Haley Hazlip's glove, so they try to get her a few innings defensively, and they're working on the bat, so they've got her at the bottom of the order. It gives them ideally a few innings to get to her, and they get some solid defense in the meanwhile, but then when it comes time for her to hit, sometimes they keep her and she'll get the occasional at-bat. Other times they bring in somebody who, over the years, has had a big bat and has come through, maybe with runners on base. And so here's Bridget Nordberg. consistency at the plate hasn't quite been there for her. And this is grounded right back to Arnold. It moves Roberts into scoring position. That's a good second out for Arnold as the order turns over here.
I think Arnold thought there were 3 outs on that one. You saw her kind of running off the field. And actually, we saw that happen last night, too. I can't remember which game, but
it was game 3.
Yeah, I will say it seems like everybody on the field, offense and defense, walked off thinking there were 3 outs and there were just 2, and then it just happened again. So I bring that up only to say it's funny, hee. But as you look into postseason and moving forward with the rest of these games to finish out into the ACC regular season, it's that kind of stuff you got to be careful with. That's a mental fatigue. You're not fully aware of what's going on. You got to pay attention to something like that, because that's the kind of thing that'll come back and get you later down the road if you're not careful.
And so I mentioned the order turns over, and with the runner in scoring position, Sam Russ is especially dangerous. She has been impressive all weekend. She was 2 for 3 in game 1 on Friday. She did foul out in the first today. But looking at Saturday, she was 1 for 3 in game 1 and then 3 for 4 in game 3. And that'll get to the backstop. Advance Gracie Roberts to third. So when you add it all up between game 1 Friday and the doubleheader yesterday, Sam Russ is 6 for 10 against Seminole pitching. Couldn't think of a better person to have at the plate with a runner on at third if you're NC State. She's 467 with runners in scoring position. So not just with runners on, but when you have runners in scoring position, look at that. Almost half the time.
Well, this is a good reason for Arnold to really bear down.
That'll float right over her glove. Muffley trying to make the play in time. It gets toward Florida State's dugout. Roberts comes in to score, and we are tied.
So at this point, as a coach, now there are 2 outs. I'm thinking there needs to be some sort of timeout or something, because here's what I just saw. All right, and I've lived this, okay, so I can speak to this. Lead off the inning with a hit. Okay, good hit. But then we had that kind of mental flub where we thought there were 3 outs, there really wasn't, and then we come back out and we have a throw on E. Good way to get back. I won't even finish it.
There you go. Heck of a throw from Anna Shelnut to retire the speedy Russ, who's been nearly perfect on the base paths this season. The Wolfpack score the equalizer, but the Seminoles will try to shift the momentum as we head to the bottom of the third. Seeing the Olympics include softball is going to be incredible. Last in the Olympics in Beijing 2008, the United States has won 3 gold medals in 4 Olympic Games. Florida State, I don't believe, has a player on the U.S. national team, but NC State has Tati Forbes on the Mexican national team, and there you see her. And we will also see her here as we head to the top of the 4th. She's also stationed out in right and enjoying what I think the folks here at the Seminole Softball Complex for years have called Suavemente Sunday, as they play Suavemente in between the top and bottom of any particular inning on a Sunday.
And she loves it. So let's talk about that Olympics. What you say? That's a big deal.
It really is.
That's a big deal. I've mentioned this before. I'll mention it again. Years ago, the softball was put on some document along with baseball and some other sports where it was cut from the Olympics.
And Sid Sherrill's still looking for that first home run of the season. She's given a charge into a couple of softballs, once on Friday and then once right there. Loud deep outs at the track.
So it was cut from the Olympics, softball was, and softball fans didn't like that, right? So there's been petitioning, there's been, I don't want to say arguments, but just debates on how can you get softball back. And so what they've done is they've put in a provisional allowance to have softball in this, what would have been 2020 Olympics, but it's temporary. So just because it's going to be there at this time doesn't mean that it's going to make the cut or be there in another 4 years in the next Olympics. If you want Olympics to continue, which I hope that you do, then you have to watch it. So watch the games. If they're broadcast when you're not awake, then record them. And you have to, any petition that comes your way, you need to sign it to have softball be put back on the docket for good. It's just going to take the entire softball community to get that to happen.
It'll be a lot of fun to watch. Tati Forbes and Mexico will take on Canada. The United States national team will certainly be one of, if not the favorites, out there in Tokyo. Shout out to Haley McClenny, who's called some games here in the past, who just an all-star center fielder at Alabama and has been a staple on that U.S. national team as well. There have been so many talented young Americans that have come up through these different programs that when you think about some of the players who've come through Florida State, whether it be Jessica Burrows and the job she did in the circle, and Jessie Warren and what she meant to this program, when you think that the last I've checked, neither of them are on the national team, it speaks to the talent that is on that national team. And then when you look at some of these talented players like the Tati Forbes type players that are going to be playing on other national teams that maybe you don't necessarily pay much credence to because, you know, when they're all in the NCAA model, they're all college, you know, they're all student athletes. It's really going to be an interesting dynamic, and I think, Megan, as the level of softball we've seen here, which is, I guess for lack of better terms, the breeding ground where we see a lot of this talent explode, we're going to see that now move into that international stage, and to your point, we need to keep watching it so that we can continue to do so moving forward.
When you brought it up with Forbes, I mean, Florida State has had other Olympians. They've just played for different teams. So you had, I know, Jessica Vanderlinden for Puerto Rico, Leslie Malerich, I think she played for the Italian national team. And so you're providing, even for Florida State alumni, it's them getting on other national teams. You want that. There's nothing like being able to play for your country. And why not? Softball's viewership numbers are lights out. There's no reason that it shouldn't be in the Olympics.
So we'll certainly look forward to that, and NC State's going to look forward to getting back to the plate. They scored the equalizer their last time up. At the plate, she leads off here as we get started in the fourth.
You know, that was a big out to end the last inning for Shelnutt behind the plate. I mean, because I was just kind of in the conversation of what I was seeing, just few little mental mishaps that were starting to snowball. And Shelnutt came up big, got them out of an inning. A runner was in scoring position. Good out. Way to respond.
Count 1-1 to Forbes, who went 2 for 4 in game 3 of this 4-game set. Her first couple of hits on the weekend. That she is one of 4 players, 4, to record 300 or more hits in their career. And this is active numbers. Active members of the 300 club. Sammy Williams at Iowa State, Amber Bishop at Liberty. You got Forbes, who now sits at 306. And then there's also Sis Bates at Washington. Batting average at .333 whenever she's leading off any particular inning. Off speed there from Arnold.
That was a nice location. I know not a called strike, it puts her full, but that was still a nice looking pitch. close to the zone. You can see Arnold's trying to come out really with her changeup, just kind of falls off the table.
And that one slapped foul. So Megan, I was on social media late last night, and I happened to see on Twitter after the big win for the Wolfpack, they made a special trip here in Tallahassee. They, you know, there's teams that you just don't make that many trips, so you have to make it a special occasion when you deal with the COVID protocols and everything. But they went to a local milkshake bar establishment called Sugar Rush here in Tallahassee, pretty close to the campus here at Florida State University. And I'll tell you what, there were some pretty decadent-looking milkshakes. I think I might have had a cavity or two just looking at them.
Yes, that's a new thing. It's the designer kind of milkshake bars. Let me just tell you, they are fantastic. I highly recommend. Great way to celebrate.
Tip out the end of the bat there by Forbes. She'll stay alive.
I think that kind of stuff is important too. I mean, they have a chance today, NC State, to even up the series, right? But they came out 2 losses, and they were, you can get discouraged, especially in this time of COVID, like you mentioned. None of the teams, with the freshmen particularly, have been able to integrate and experience what it would be like in a normal freshman year. And so that can take a toll on team dynamic and just even confidence sometimes. So you have to celebrate when you have these victories. Doesn't matter how big or small, you got to celebrate. Great way to bring the team together.
That was a great at-bat there from Tati Forbes. Saw 9 pitches, earned a walk. And for the second straight inning, the Wolfpack have a leadoff base runner. Part of the order coming up here momentarily. We're at the 3 spot now with Farraker. So what are your toppings? What are your go-to toppings on a milkshake or a sundae?
On those designer milkshakes, I'm digging like a s'mores, a brownie, something chocolatey.
Gotcha. I was gonna say, I might get roasted for being basic here, but I keep it pretty simple. You know, the whipped cream, the cherry, the chocolate syrup, the crushed Oreo. And then also, if I want to throw a little change-up in there, and I know we've seen plenty of change-ups on the field here, caramel or toffee, even a salted caramel, pretty fire.
Yeah, I'm trying to put myself into a coma if I'm going to have one of those.
Exactly. Nice job there by Danny Morgan securing out number 1. Now to bring up Angie Rizzi. Her home run yesterday was a solo shot. She's got a runner here aboard in Tati Forbes. Part of that home run mindset, you touched on it yesterday, Megan, is that Coach Patrick Swift, that being Jennifer Patrick Swift, wants to see, ideally, the goal is a home run for everybody in the lineup each weekend. 1 home run, and if you have 9 home runs in a weekend, the mentality there is you're going to win a heck of a lot of games. Rizzi was looking for one there. That's a huge swing. It goes 1-1.
Yeah, I didn't catch that it was everybody have a home run in the weekend. Maybe you're right, but and it probably just makes more sense. But, you know, something they have to think about too is, and I know they're on offense right now, but if you're hitting home runs like that and you're swinging big, you are putting pressure on that pitcher. So Kaylin Arnold right now, she doesn't have room to miss, because if you're going to swing and she's missed a little bit, there's a really good chance that the barrel of the bat's going to send that ball far, even if it doesn't go out of the park, just the power of the swing, right? But also from a NC State pitching perspective, they've said that they know they're probably going to give up some home runs, but if NC State can hit home runs, they're going to be able to make up for it, you know, in the long run.
And that is a look at Rizzi's home run. It came with the Wolfpack already up 4-2, and that was in the top of the 7th, so it added a little extra insurance for NC State, and certainly beneficial. And especially so against Florida State, who we've seen time and time again over the years has staged these epic 7th-inning comebacks. And then credit Abby Trahan for keeping Florida State's bats quiet as well. Looks like Rizzi here needs a second.
I think it was Shelnut. It almost looked like.
Okay, yep. Down she goes. It's a huge strikeout for Kaylin Arnold.
See, Arnold again had been going up, up, up. There she goes on the outside corner, just a touch up. I love how she can climb that pitch, 3 different levels. She's got command of the rise. That's what I associate her with, rise ball pitcher, through and through.
And this is Logan Morris. We haven't mentioned it yet, but I'll go ahead and mention it now as we look at her numbers here, and they are impressive. Jennifer Patrick-Swift said these numbers are likely a shade of what she could be doing if she was fully healthy. Megan, she's got a subluxed shoulder. It's her glove shoulder when she plays defensively, and she said it is bothering her so much that by the time she gets to Sunday and she puts that glove on, she can hardly get the glove on.
I'm sure she's probably wearing some sort of brace, or she's got to be taped up to help keep that shoulder in place. And if you think about that, that's pain up by your neck and head.
Boy, that's incredibly close. Whew. And Forbes got back just in time. That's a couple of on-the-money throws from Anna Shelnut.
Yeah, that was that could have been a tough play for Mason coming from behind the bag like that with Forbes right in that throwing lane. But pain up around your neck and shoulders, that's some serious stuff.
Well, that's a heck of a response there at the plate, and Forbes running on contact just turns on the afterburners. NC State's got runners on the corners. That's a really good piece of hitting, too, going opposite field with it.
Yeah, well, the pitch was tending on the outside corner as well, so you can see here Arnold's going to go up in the zone. She's been getting this call. Morris did a really nice job of just getting the barrel to the bat there, or excuse me, the barrel to the ball and going with. So a lot of times what I see, especially with power hitters that have big swings, is they'll try to take an outside pitch and pull it to the left side. Some can do that. They have a lot of upper body strength. Some can't. And so when they pull it, it ends up being a weak ground ball to the left side versus, you know, something when you go with the pitch there, what you see.
That is the 3rd hit of the game for NC State. Both teams now with 1 run apiece, 3 hits apiece. And that brings up April Visser. Started the year at short with Sam Gress. Gress, a 2-way player, has been dealing with some leg and ankle injuries. It's been an issue that Gress has been dealing with for a little bit of time. She didn't make the trip here to Tallahassee, and it was one of those things where NC State thought she was coming along pretty well, said, okay, we'll go ahead, we'll try you out, and then she got into a game, and it just turned out to be a no-go. And so we certainly wish the best to Sam Gress, who as a freshman was earning time up the middle of the infield, and when you think of the back end of coronavirus protocols and expanded rosters, when you have a true freshman who comes in and earns a spot up the middle, no less, really says a thing or two about what they can bring to the team. So again, Sam, if you're watching, we wish you the best. And Visser has moved over to second. Farraker has filled her spot in short, and then they're platooning at first, leaving Morris really as the lone staple there on the hot corner. Count 3-1 as Arnold's starting to fall behind these Wolfpack hitters. who don't necessarily need a hitter's count to be aggressive.
They're going to swing hard on any count. And I will say that Florida State has done a good job of keeping the ball in the park against these power hitters. Looks like Arnold's just struggling a little bit on commanding the pitches to Visser. And just keep in mind that Visser's the one that in Friday's game really made Arnold work.
So with that ball popped back and out of play, it goes full to Visser. Pitch count now nearing 70. It was at 19 through 3 innings to start for Arnold. So the Wolfpack, to their credit, have really dug in here. Full count coming. Looks like that one might have caught the knob of the bat.
Yeah, that's the call. Foul ball.
As we look at the pitches by inning, 13 in the first, 6 in the second, then 22 and now 28 respectively. Arnold's hoping 29 gets her through the fourth. Visser looking to see a few more. Arnold gets her wish. Another strikeout for Kaylin. It is her 4th of this game, and it strands Wolfpack runners in scoring position. And NC State, looking to equal the series, has a big opportunity go wanting, and Arnold has a little surge of momentum as we head to the bottom of the 4th.
It's the NCAA Softball Selection Show.
Gets a shot to go to Oklahoma City.
You got to win or they're going home.
That does it. Back to the Women's College World Series.
Feeling pretty confident right now.
When we reveal the bracket for the NCAA tournament.
I'm king of the mountain.
UCLA enjoying another season as Queens of the Mountain after the COVID-shortened 2020 campaign. Florida State with that mantle in 2018. As we take a look at the key dates here for what will eventually end up in the Women's College World Series Conference Championship Week, just a couple weeks away. Then we got the selection show on the back end of that on May 16th. Regionals, May 21st through 23rd. Supers, May 27th through 30th. And then the early part of June belongs to OKC. And what a fun road it is going to be to get to that point where somebody's going to get to hang a banner or a flag akin to that one here at the Seminole Softball Complex, but with the year 2021 attached to it. Megan, who do you like out of all the different teams that you've seen this season?
It's hard for me to think past the tournaments that are coming up, so I'm just going to stick there. I mean, obviously, I think Florida State. So Florida State to me is a given. They're going to be in it. I'm going based off of, and I'm hesitating to say this. Well, I don't care. I'm going based off of the team that I like how they play. I want to see Clemson in it.
Ground ball back to Trahan here off the bat of Danny Morgan. She is retired at first. I think that would be interesting to see Valerie Cagle, who has been tremendous this season in Oklahoma City. The team that I'm interested to see what they are able to do here as we head into the postseason, and not just conference, but of course NCAA. I was especially impressed with Larissa Anderson's Missouri Tigers when they came in here. Obviously, when you think of the SEC, the teams that are going to immediately demand your attention are the likes of Alabama, the likes of Florida, LSU. But I think Missouri has quietly been building a ton of momentum. And you never know. The way they can swing the bat in Columbia, it would not surprise me in the least if they made a trip to the Women's College World Series.
Yeah, and if you're thinking, the SEC is kind of one of those taboo topics, I feel like, because, you know, so many teams get selected. So I'm going to stay away from that. I could go all day, but I'm on a different network. So on the ACC side of things, like I said, I think Clemson, FSU's in. They're for sure in. And then I think Virginia Tech would be fun to see, I think, a Duke. So the top 4 in the conference that have consistently been producing, this year's different. There's an eyeball test of sorts, and I think those teams have earned it.
Keely Richard has been tremendous all season for Virginia Tech. She, like Valerie Cagle, on the top 25 watch list for USA Softball Player of the Year. She throws a heck of a lot for the Hokies, and she's been, as I mentioned, just lights out. In fact, it was big news. And keep an eye, if you're looking at some of the other schools from the non-Power 5 conferences, Liberty is having a really nice year, and the exclamation point for them in the midweek was they beat Virginia Tech and Richard, and that's a heck of a play by Sam Russ.
Yeah, that was a good, solid hit by Shellnut, almost in that 7-8 gap. And Russ, with her speed, she gets a good read off the bat. See the turn, glove side, gets extension at the last minute. Sometimes you'll see outfielders run with their glove out. That slows them down. She kept it tucked, extended out. Beautiful catch.
I'll just go back and touch on that matchup between the Flames and the Hokies in the midweek. Just a few days ago now, Caroline Hudson was the hero in that one. Richard was doing what she does. She was just blowing through hitters left and right, got to the bottom of the 7th. It was played at Liberty in Lynchburg. Caroline Hudson hit a 3-run bomb to send it to extras. 2 innings later, a walk-off 2-run bomb to beat Richard. And Flaherty goes opposite field down the line. That's a base hit for Devon.
I like how Flaherty didn't try to do too much. She was frozen, struck out looking in the previous at-bat, and she comes up this next at-bat and just on the changeup just kind of poked it out to that left side of the field. And see, and you think about that. She struck out looking the first at-bat. The thing you don't want to do, of all things, is you don't want to strike out looking. And so then what does she do? She comes back the very next at bat and she makes an adjustment and she gets herself on base with a hit. That's the kind of the little things that add up that need to be acknowledged and they need to be celebrated. And Coach Lonnie Alameda talked about that, particularly at the beginning of the season. We need to celebrate what these, quote, little things are so that we can help build the confidence.
Celebrating the little things has been a calling card for Florida State over the years. And, we've talked about the unpredictable nature of the postseason, and Florida State really is a testament to it. They had that team with Jessica Burrows, who was blowing through everybody and won every game at home until they hosted a super regional and lost 2 to LSU. And she was very candid about it. She said they learned a lot from it. She said, we were very go, 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 right? If you want to do it, let's do it. We're going to go absolutely pedal to the metal on all of this. And they burned themselves out. And she said the very next year, not only did we celebrate all the little things, she said we celebrated everything. As the Seminoles here go to a pinch hitter in Carson Sabe.
And that doesn't mean that they gave participation trophies out.
Oh, absolutely not. Yep.
It just means that you acknowledge when someone does well and does their job in a role, they know their role, and they execute, you acknowledge it, and you point it out to them. I wanted to quickly just kind of circle back to Liberty for a second because we were talking about Olympians, and Liberty is one of those examples where Dr. Dot Richardson is their head coach, and she obviously was a gold medalist for the USA national team, and she's one of those folks. The Olympians are the ones that folks like me, Coach Alameda, we didn't have pro ball really, so who did we look up to? We looked up to the Olympians, and that's what we wanted to be. So you talk about not only for the athletes getting that experience, but if a coach has played at that level, then they have a deeper understanding of the game. You want to see them back in the game.
Good eye there by Sabi. That'll be a foul ball. Sack was up on top of it, but home plate umpire David Reinecker did call it foul. Full count here by the freshman.
See, and if I'm trying, I'm thinking I have 2 outs. I'm at the bottom of the order, and I just am facing a hitter that hasn't seen me all weekend. So I'm going to attack. I'm going to go right at her.
And she goes off speed for the strikeout. Sabi really did a good job of battling, but she goes down swinging at the end. And after giving up a run in the first, Abby Trahan has settled in nicely at the Seminole Softball Complex.
We are almost into May, so away we go.
I think what's impressive too is how rocky the start.
You have to learn how to win with your number 2.
They're called hitters. They're not called hit by pitchers.
We're not called ditchers either.
It's like nobody's talking about that, and that's a top 15, top 10 matchup.
It sits based than everybody else. Like, come on, people.
The 7 Innings Podcast. When you see what they've got on the docket here coming up, an interview with Arkansas's head coach. No shortage of shortstops. Maybe Josie Muffley will work her way into that conversation. We'll answer some Twitter questions. And it's available on the ESPN app, iTunes, or wherever you get your podcast. You can hashtag #ShaggingStats to jump in on the conversation. And Megan, I don't know if you've listened to a few episodes of the 7 Innings Podcast, but I know I sure have. It is a tremendous deal that Beth Mowens, Michelle Smith, Caleb.
And the ERA. And then when they get to conference, it kind of goes up a little bit because conference play, especially with 4-game series, you expect it to go up some. Not so much with Sandercock. She is a student of the game. Coach Alameda talks all the time about how Sandercock has a process, and she has been consistent in sticking to her process in how she prepares for games. She's constantly wanting to watch video, break down the hitters and the pitches that she's been throwing. And I cannot tell you, like, I wasn't a student of the game like this. Now, granted, we didn't have video. We had big VHS tapes, and we didn't have easy access to them, okay?
Right.
So let me preface. But I just kind of went out there and pitched, and I relied on what I read off the hitter, and things have changed. You have so much data and analytics and access to video, and Sandercock is taking full advantage of all that.
A swing and a miss from Sam Sack as we get started here in the 5th. That's a good way to start for Kat Sandercock.
Yeah, so Sandercock, she does work lower in the zone, but you will see her come up just like that to try to get these hitters to chase. And she actually has a really good rise ball. She has some tight spin on it.
Well, we introduced you to the new pitcher, Kat Sandercock, but there are wholesale changes here and a shuffle of the infield for Florida State defensively. Carson Sabi came in to pinch hit for Josie Muffley, and so because of all of that, we have seen players move all over the field, most dramatically here in the infield, where you now see Kaylee Harding at third, Flaherty at short, Sid Sherrill back to second, where she played as a freshman when a player by the name of Jessie Warren was stationed at third. Cass Davis has moved to right, and I would imagine Sabi is out in left, with Morgan staying put in center and Mason staying put over here at first. So basically, 3 position players stayed the same. Everybody else moved around a bit. Carson Shaner, the DP, struck out in the third. Chased a Kaylin Arnold rise ball. Shaner last season appeared in 21 of the 25 games NC State played, made 10 starts at second base or as the DP for the Wolfpack. Her first 4 hits of the 2020 campaign were home runs. Not a huge sample size for Shaner this season. This is just her 40th at-bat on the year. The count is 2-2 to Carson. Checked her swing once again. This time she's called for the strikeout.
That was a dirty little pitch by Sandercock. See, Sandercock had been working more up in the zone, and then she just comes in. I mean, there's really nothing you can do with that pitch right there. She likes it too. Yep, good call.
And so here's Haley Hazlip, who started at first, was pinch hit for by Bridget Nordberg in the third, and has now reassumed that spot of the order.
So when you think about conference standings, now NC State, we've talked about them. They need all the wins they can get so that they can, hopefully from Coach Jennifer Patrick Swift's words, to negate some of the earlier losses that they may have had. So you want to finish strong, right? And so that they can hopefully pass the eyeball test. Florida State is now looking at they need all the wins they can get if they want a chance to secure the regular season title. So with yesterday's loss, it just kind of bumped Clemson up a little bit. Now Clemson has a series next, I think it's next weekend against Syracuse, and they'll need to take those games, but definitely a little bit tighter race for the the regular season title.
Fouled back off the bat there of Hazlip. Yeah, Clemson's got Syracuse, Florida State's got Pittsburgh. So what you'll see here at the conclusion of this set for the Seminoles, they'll have played the same amount of conference games roughly that Clemson has, and so you'll be able to draw that direct comparison in their conference records. And regardless of who Kat Sandercock plays, she has just been dominant for the vast majority of this season. That includes the top of the fifth here in Tallahassee, where she has come in to relieve Kaylin Arnold, and I'll say she did a pretty good job. She went strikeout, strikeout, strikeout. To the bottom of the fifth we go. And well, for the second day in a row, here's Autumn Belvey playing her trombone to Timmy Trumpet.
She plays it so well. Good form. I love this part. This is where she just hits it hard. This is one reason why I love this sport. It's really changed over the years, because back in the day, you wouldn't have seen this. It would have been seen as child's play. Like, we don't do that, right? You can cheer, but keep it there. And then as the athletes and the generations have changed and the coaches have changed guards, you're seeing a lot more looseness in the dugout. And I think as long as you can still stay focused, I think it's great. It's fun to watch.
When you think of all the young folks that are watching at home or from the stands, it certainly is incredibly relatable. And how about Dion Riggs? First time up seeing Abby Trahan. She recorded a hit up the middle. That time she laid down a decent bunt. And with her speed down the line, Logan Morris had to make a heck of a play to throw her out. That ball was hit incredibly hard, but foul.
Yeah, it's almost like, it's not almost like, it is. Softball has kind of taken they've been given flexibility, I think, like baseball has pretty much always had. Baseball's always been silly. They do fun stuff, but they're silly. In softball, you're starting to see more of that in the dugouts. Now, it's not for every player. Some of your athletes, they need to be down in the corner. They need to just be kind of doing the minimal cheering because they need to stay focused, especially if it's a pitcher and you need to stay in the zone. And then some athletes can be up like that and all over the place and still be, that's what they need to be in their zone. So got to let athletes be who they are.
Randy Farraker ranging to her left, tried to muscle that throw into first, and Mason just beat her there.
You can see Farraker was already playing deep, and Mason just gets it. Look how far, it was almost to the grass line. Good effort there by Farraker, but tough out to make.
Yeah, that's a cap tipper all the way around defensively, and of course at that point in time, if you're going to make a play like that and the hitter is just going to beat you there, you got to tip your cap back to the hitter as well. So here comes a conversation. This is now the third time through the order, and you're going to see Sydney Sherrill and Kaylee Harding. So here's the test for Abby Trahan. Jennifer Patrick Swift looking on. Again, she's calling the pitches for Trahan and the rest of her staff. Chelsea Wilkinson unable to travel due to contact tracing. Certainly glad that there wasn't a positive test involved. And NC State has done a really good job. They've talked about it, of maintaining their bubble and taking this whole coronavirus situation seriously. And so when that contact trace came up, she stayed back in Raleigh. The team traveled down here, and they've certainly done themselves proud, but a big test is coming here. 24 on 24. Trahan against Sherrill.
When Sherrill walked her first at bat, and then she did fly out her second, but I mean, that was a long fly out to that right field, almost at the wall. See, Trahan's really trying to nip away at the corners, which she should. Sherrill has the power.
Popped up. And Morris bobbled it. Oh, goodness. Mason was waiting on it because she thought that surely was going to be a pop-up, and so she had to take off for second. And at that moment, Morris was able to get back on top of it and throw out Mason to get the lead runner.
You can see just the rise ball spin. She was straddling the line, but it looked like the ball came down in fair territory. And what a presence of mind for Morris to make the drop and then still grab the ball bare hand. She didn't have time to grab and put it into her glove like you normally see. Bare hand, grabbed it, had to have a good grip, made the throw to second.
That ball was laced but foul. One for two with a pop-up in the third. The single in the first was an infield single for Kaylee Harding.
Harding, actually, the two hits that she has off of Trahan have been those infield singles, so kind of weaker ground balls, but because of her speed, she's been able to leg it out and cause trouble.
This ball is lifted into the outfield, out to the track, and Russ hauls it in. When Florida State's been able to lift balls into the outfield, they haven't quite been able to get them far enough to do damage. We stay 1-all in Tallahassee. First of all, how cool is it that the entire ACC tournament is on linear television between the ACC network and ESPN2 for the championship? Playing games, if that's what you want to call them, Louisville, Georgia Tech, Syracuse, Pittsburgh, and then the winner of the Cuse Pitt would likely see Florida State at this point. Louisville, Georgia Tech would see Clemson, and then that sets up a mouth-watering assortment of games. Virginia Tech, Notre Dame, Duke, NC State. And then, of course, you go into your semifinals, and somehow, some way, of some combination therein, you will see a championship game. And Megan, when you see this matchup going the way it has, it really does emphasize the point that especially this year in this conference, anybody can beat anybody at any time. And so you might think, oh, Clemson, Florida State, chalk all the way. They've by far and away got the best conference records. They're going to be the 1-2 seed, whichever way it works out. And we'll see those two match up for the first time there. That would be great. I think there's a lot of people that would love to see it, but there's no guarantee that that's the way it's going to shake out.
Absolutely. And, you know, that just speaks to, in a conference tournament like that, anybody can win. And we talked about this before. The game doesn't know who's supposed to win. But these teams are playing tight. All of them are playing tight, right? There's not been too many blowouts that I can remember. And I think this is something new and different for Florida State because in the past, it's been Florida State. You know, here and there, they may have a challenger, but it wasn't until you get to the conference tournament. And now it's regular season, there's a battle. And whether you like it or not, it's good for the sport. It's good for the conference. It's good for Florida State. And even Coach Lonnie Alameda will tell you that because you don't want to be just out in front of everybody all the time. You kind of lose your edge. You want somebody nipping at your heels to give you that competition within conference. You don't want to always have to go out of conference, right? The other good thing that it does is for the conference to have stronger teams in the conference. It builds the sport as a whole, but now you have recruits that are looking to come in conference, and it gives them options. It's not just one school that they want to go to, which then just all the way around makes the game better.
Well, I'll follow that thought with this as we take a look at the NC State dugout. The last ACC tournament that was contested was here in Tallahassee. It was at the Seminole Softball Complex in 2019. Florida State and Virginia Tech actually had, I believe, the same record. They didn't play each other. Virginia Tech, as it turned out, ended up being the 1 seed in that tournament. Just to attest to the unpredictable nature of the ACC tournament, any conference tournament out there, they lost their first game in that ACC tournament. You know who they lost to? NC State. So the Wolfpack will try to go on a run here and see if maybe they can piece together a hot streak through an ACC tournament here. They won it in 2013. The last team not named Florida State to win it. So here's Sam Russ. He's batting first, 1 for 2, single in the third. Drove in a run. It was Gracie Roberts who was pinch running for Sam Sack who came in to score. And this ground ball here to short is fielded by Harding.
All right then.
Okay, and so once again, we're seeing some position changes. Sherrill goes back to third. Harding, who just played the last inning defensively at third, has now shifted over to short. And Flaherty, who was in short, is now back at second.
Look how aggressive she was. I love it. She went and attacked the ball, didn't let it get too far deep on her. The deeper you let it get, the more crazy it can get. She was smooth. And we probably shouldn't be, it's not that we're shocked, it's just we haven't seen her there. And so just seeing that for the first time was pretty neat. I want to, just say one more thing about the conference tournament. When you think about the quality of teams and how the teams within the ACC are getting better, the other thing that fans need to remember is because there are more teams that are competitive and that are stronger, when you go into a tournament, your team is going to be better prepared for postseason. Instead of coming out of a weak tournament where they just kind of walk through everything, now they're having to battle, and that's what they're going to have to do for postseason. So it prepares that team. So
we'll see how this run benefits whoever comes out of that ACC tournament. Of course, whoever wins it will get the automatic bid, but there'll be several at-larges, you should think, also coming for the ACC. So how will those teams benefit in the long term from their conference slate, playing 4 games each weekend, weather permitting? There's been some that have only played 3. In fact, Florida State only played 3 against Duke earlier this season. It's going to be a lot of fun. We'll also mention that Dion Riggs is in left. And this is slapped to third. Sherrill, no problem.
Number 13, Randy Farragut.
Here's Randy Farragut. And the way she's been slugging this season has been remarkable. Up there with some of the best slugging percentages nationally, at the top of the conference. And there's more that goes into slugging than just home runs, although obviously home runs are a huge part of the equation. But this year alone, as you see the numbers there, on their own, they're awfully impressive. The 420 on-base percentage, 325 batting average. If you go back to her career at Arizona State, she spent a year there, and then she's now spent 3 with the Wolfpack. Decent numbers, 3 home runs, 5 home runs, 4 home runs, those previous 3 seasons. And then this year, oh, how about 16?
That's what you hope to see. A lot of times, unfortunately, it seems like you'll see athletes go and they're just lights out. Some have great freshman years, and then some don't, because they're trying to make that transition to collegiate ball. And then you'll see sophomore year is pretty good, and then you'll kind of see a drop off. So what you're describing is, as a coach, you're encouraged by that, the progress and tangible results that you're seeing. It lets you know that Farragut is where you off her bat and hit her teammate.
Just caught a piece, did Farragut. Did you count 2 outs? Hit a long way, but pulled foul. Farragut has been really good all season at making the adjustments. I mentioned those 16 home runs. 12 of those have come after the 4th inning this season. So that's where you would see that second or further trip through the order. But Florida State has countered that by bringing in a new pitcher. Sherrill, my goodness. She started her career at Florida State as their second baseman because somebody by the name of Jessie Warren was doing a tremendous job on the hot corner. She's assumed that spot, and she has certainly done herself proud. Tie game, head to the bottom. What a great day for softball. Absolutely incredible. Mentioned the temperature, 82 degrees, feels like 92. Oh, correction, feels like 91. Don't want to over dramatize. Mostly sunny. Instead of blowing out of the south-southeast, it's blowing at 4. Let me just put it simple. To anybody who's somewhere else, maybe dealing with rain, dealing with maybe cooler temperatures, too cool for their liking, we win. We win. Wherever you are, we win.
That's a gorgeous, gorgeous day. It's always fun, and what makes it even better is school's out, so no classes, at least for Florida State. I'm not sure about NC State. They've got to be getting close. Exams are done, graduation. So this is the time where you can just put all your focus on ball.
Abby Trahan continues to just be absolute dynamite in the circle, and she's now scoring off with Kat Sandercock, who's worked 2 consecutive 1-2-3 innings, Megan. I'm particularly impressed with the way Trahan has responded. 6 Seminoles came to the plate in the first. They jumped on her early and doubled down the line by Cass Davis, bringing in the run. They tried to scratch a second run across. Harding tried to come home on a ground ball to short. And Farraker had the presence of mind to go home with it and threw out Kaylee at the plate. And that's been the key, is this ball is given a charge out to the center field wall. Davis looking for another double. Throw comes in, she's underneath the tag. Right on cue, Davis delivers again.
Davis strikes early in the count this game. You can see Trahan just had left that curve on the outside corner up in the zone. And I was just thinking as you were talking that this is the 3rd time in an entire, for an entire game that Florida State hitters have seen Trahan. That is incredibly difficult for a pitcher out of a 4-game series to see the same team 3 times. So you would expect, and they have, Florida State's been making better contact this game. I think they're starting to see the ball a little bit better here.
Kaylee Mudge has come in to pinch run for Cassidy Davis, and that brings up Danny Morgan. Infield comes in. Indecision on the throw. And Florida State has runners on the corners. Hazlip charged in to field the bunt. Visser did a good job of covering first, but Hazlip checked third, and in that amount of time, Morgan, who carries plenty of speed as a center fielder, got down to first before Hazlip even really got the ball out.
Well, and Trahan puts a lot of spin on her pitches, so being able to get this ball down is critical. And look, she goes to the right side. That was a very well-placed bunt. So it's one thing to bunt, and then it's another thing to be able to place your bunt so that you're not, I mean, the defense had to have been expecting that a little bit. I also like that Florida State's turning to some small ball. We haven't seen that this weekend from them. They're starting to make some adjustments. It's okay to play small ball, folks.
That's how Florida State walked it off against Trahan in game 1. It was an infield single that got the job done for the Seminoles. And now the opportunities for the Seminoles are seemingly endless. Shelnut will try to go that small ball route here. She shows bunt and knocks it foul. But no outs on the board and a runner at third. Got a handful of different ways that you can bring that go-ahead run across the plate. We'll see if the Seminoles can execute or if Trahan, to her credit, can step up once more. And she has done it with regularity all weekend. Quickly 0-2. Megan, if you're Trahan, what are your thoughts here? How are you going about approaching Shelnut?
Well, I have not seen her off speed as much, I don't think, this game. It seems like the first 2 games that she threw, she was throwing it 3-4 times and at bat. I'd like to see her go a little bit more there.
Infield single, Mudge is safe.
So I don't know if you noticed this, but In the first pitch to Shellnut, runner on third, and Florida State does what they're known to do. So NC State was expecting a squeeze attempt, and it was not successful. Shellnut fouled the ball off. Then on the very next pitch, she swung. So what that does is it pushes the defense back. And when that happened, even a weak ground ball to shortstop put Farraker so far back she wasn't able to make the play. That would have been a tight play at home anyway. I know they're trying to cut the run off, but you have to know your speed on the base path too.
I'll correct myself, it's a fielder's choice, and they chose to come home with it, and they couldn't get Mudge. Either way, gets the job done. Seminoles out 2-1. And Danny Morgan is on at second with Anna Shellnut on at first. Trahan going down in the zone and missing it to Flaherty, who struck out and then responded with an opposite field single in the fourth. And how quickly things can change. This is the bottom of the sixth. And so the question at this point is what the lead will be for Florida State. The end result is the same. NC State's down to now their final 3 outs when they get back to the plate.
Well, and Florida State just did what you hope your athletes can do. So they lead off, batter of the inning gets on in Davis with the line shot to center field. Then you have small ball, bunted her over and was safe. And then you had ball put in play, infield ground ball to score. So they're executing. They got people on base, and now they're executing. This is exactly what you want to see.
Now the count goes full to Devin Flaherty. And that came up and in.
I think this is a good decision to call a timeout right here. No outs. Florida State's starting to see the ball against Trahan. She's starting to miss in the out of the zone. Just trying to calm your athletes down. Let's have a minute. What's the game plan here? Asking your pitcher, how do you feel? What do you want to go to in this situation?
It's a stat line worth repeating. In 13 of the Wolfpack's 19 losses this season, it has been by a margin of 2 or fewer. They trail by 1 right now. And the question remains, how much work will they need to do once they get through all the work they need to do here to get out of the bottom of the sixth? Nice pitch from Trahan.
See, Sabi, that was a smart take. All the pressure is on Trahan right now. She doesn't have a whole lot of room to work.
Quickly 0-2 to the freshman. just tipped it off the end of the bat. And certainly there, the pitch count really also feeds right into your point, Megan. Same offensive output in terms of run production for Florida State as last evening. But when Trahan was able to get through the Seminoles in 71 pitches for the win, as this throw comes back home. A big out there at the plate. Florida State, despite the same run production here, at least for the moment, they've seen 21 more pitches comparatively here, and we're not through the sixth yet.
And again, I mean, this is Trahan's third outing. She's not going to be as sharp usually as she was on, say, Friday or even last night. Didn't have much of a rest. Game started earlier today.
Deion Riggs, bottom of the order.
And I also think that Florida State's doing a better job of getting pieces of the bat onto those balls that are out of the zone that maybe they shouldn't swing at really, but you know, they're still making better contact on the ball than they have the last two games against Trahan.
Deion Riggs ripped a single up the middle in the second. Grounded out in the fifth. He's got Shelnut, Flaherty, and Sabi on the base paths. And that'll get through the right side, and Florida State pours another one on. Shelnut comes in to score. It is 3-1. Have yourself a day, Deion.
It's like Riggs just turned on this inside pitch from Trahan, found a hole.
And now the order turns over, only one out on the board. The bases are loaded, and it's Lizzie Mason. First pitch swinging, pop that ball into foul territory. Nice job, Morris, corralling out number two. So now it's Sydney Sherrill, who will see pitch number 97 from Trahan. Bases still loaded. It is Flaherty, Sabi, and Riggs that are on for the Seminoles.
And in this game, we've seen Trahan really try to pitch around Sydney Sherrill. But with bases loaded like this, she doesn't have anywhere to go. So she doesn't have anywhere to put Sherrill. She's going to have to go right at her. Sherrill's been seeing the ball well, stepping up.
Right on cue, the count 2-0. Lays off the rise ball. Her batting average near 300 with 2 outs on the board. Make it 3-0.
And I think that's the difference. This is where we're seeing the fatigue start to catch up with Trahan in this game. Her changeups and her off speeds that she's been throwing in the previous 2 games have been for strikes, and they've been fooling Florida State hitters, and today they just are missing the mark.
Pitch number 100 is a called strike for Trahan against Sid Sherrill. As we look at the numbers, 68 strikes, 32 balls, 100 total. And Sherrill walks and the Seminoles score another.
As a pitcher, to me, that's the worst feeling. Not even giving up a home run, because at least the hitter had to swing the bat. But when you walk a run in, you didn't even give them a chance to put the ball in play and make a mistake or whatever they're going to do.
Here's Kaylee Harding. Florida State has batted around the order. That gets out of play. Situationally, we've seen these numbers coming off of our little bug here on that upper left of your screen at home. Florida State with 2 outs on the board, especially here at the top of the order. You've got Sid Sherrill, who's batting near 300 with 2 outs. And then you've got Kaylee Harding, who's batting 321. Called strike 3. Trahan gets out of the bottom of the 6th, but it was a good bottom of the 6th, to say the least, for the Seminoles. Anna Shellnut, grounder to short, Mudge beat to the throw home. And then Dion Riggs goes through the right side to plate Shellnut. It is 4-1 Seminoles, and do or die time for Pat. We'll go ahead and take a look at our game recap. And Cass Davis struck early, and as you'll see in a second, often Florida State, Megan, jumping on the board first. But we've seen NC State battle back time and time again. They did so here.
Yeah, and what Florida State did well in this coming up inning that you're about to see here is they put some other things to play. They had the small ball, so you'll see you start off with a hit and then kind of built up into this point. But the thing here that is illustrated is Coach Lonnie Alameda talked about the situational hitting and being able to execute when there are runners on base, and Florida State did a good job right there.
The 6th inning started off with a double rip to the center field wall off the bat of Cassidy Davis, her 2nd double of the game, and it just got the party started for the Seminoles, who've now seen Trahan for the 3rd time this weekend. And now, after that explosion, we head to the top of the 7th, and if you're NC State, you find yourself down to your final 3 outs.
Well, you can't count NC State out.
Nope.
1, they've shown they can come back, but 2, if you look in that 6th inning, Florida State, it was still a 1-1 ball game, and Florida State put the pieces together. And I think what you also saw in that bottom of the 6th is that hitting is contagious. So, for Rizzi, you're looking to kind of do the same thing. Let's spark this inning and then build the momentum with those that follow.
How impressed have you been with Catherine Sandercock coming in relief today?
I think Sandercock has looked better today, and there you go. Rizzi starting the inning out. You had a hit with an error on the pickup, and that could be all it takes. So if you're Florida State, you're looking to come back hard on this next hitter. You've got to shut this down.
The point I was trying to set up before, credit to Angie Rizzi leading off this top of the 7th with a base hit to right, is that Sandercock came in the 5th, went strikeout, 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 ground out, ground out, ground out through the 6th. And so had faced the minimum. That will not be the case here in the 7th. And again, as you mentioned, credit to NC State for battling as we've seen them do all weekend. And that gets it here to Logan Morris. First pitch swinging, this one's popped up. And Flaherty secures it.
Yeah, and that's a good response right there. That's what you're looking to see happen. And I didn't get to finish my sentence either. I think Sandercock looks sharper than she did even all game yesterday. I think NC State was putting the bat on the ball against her a little bit more solidly than what I would have expected. And hey, it's going to happen, right? But so far today, she's rebounded and responded very well.
Check swing there. And this is April Visser. And you feel like she's due, Megan. She's done everything else but record a hit this weekend. She's seen a ton of pitches. She's battled valiantly in the box. She's been coming in fine form. It just feels like it's one of those when kind of things, but we're starting to run out of time, at least this weekend. Logan Morris on at second. Excuse me, that was Rizzi who's on at second. Morris popped up to short. Off-speed strike. And that was the pitch, Megan, that really jumped out on a number of occasions when she was dealing against Florida in a non-conference matchup in the midweek about a month or so ago.
Yeah, and this is her, she was not throwing her changeup for a good strike, and that's still high in the zone, but hey, it's a strike. You got to build and take from that. I think, well, for all pitchers, both Watson and Sandercock, and I'll go ahead and throw Arnold into the mix there. Good comeback right there with the strikeout looking. But when that changeup, when particularly with Sandercock and with Watson for Florida State, when they can throw their changeup that day for a strike, their other pitches work better. When their changeup is missing and it's not hitting that strike zone, it's just their other pitchers aren't quite as effective. They seem to be a little bit looser on the zone. So everything kind of comes together with that changeup.
And so now she squares off with Sam Sack. That's a big cut from the catcher who did single back in the third. And so we certainly don't want to jump the gun here as we take a look at the numbers for Sack. Batting average now at .234, on-base percentage at .343. But considering how aggressive NC State is, certainly want to take a second as we have reached the conclusion of our broadcast schedule here this regular season, Megan, to certainly thank all the folks that have made these broadcasts a possibility and all the administrators, not just for Florida State, but all the visiting teams doing their jobs so that they are in a position to be able to travel so that we can enjoy softball this season. It hasn't always felt the same, but being here and enjoying what we've been able to enjoy has been absolutely terrific. It's been a lot of fun.
Yeah, it has. It's nice that softball is being played this year.
And that ground out will end it. Sandercock solid in relief, and the Seminoles finally figure out Trahan on the way to a 4-1 victory and a series win over the Wolfpack.
I think we said this coming in, that this was going to be a good series, and it didn't disappoint. And I think NC State needs to be commended. Again, they went toe-to-toe, and Florida State needs to be commended as well, obviously, for winning the series. But they did some things well, particularly coming off of a loss last night. They're putting things together.
And so Florida State will take on Pittsburgh, and NC State will close the season out against Duke. And then everybody, for the most part in the conference, makes a trip to Louisville for the ACC tournament. And then the fun really cranks up a notch when we have the selection show, the NCAA tournament. The Seminoles certainly hope to host. It's on the perimeter of possibilities, and certainly a senior salute worthwhile for all the young ladies who have come in and made this program what it has turned into over the past few years. And there you see the proceedings. Kaylin Arnold, a transfer, Cass Davis, receiving her due, and she made the most of it today. Lizzie Mason, Danny Morgan, Anna Shilnut, can't forget Leslie Ferris, and certainly can't forget, again, all the hardworking men and women who have made all these softball games happen, all these broadcasts happen. It has truly been a pleasure at the Seminole Softball Complex for all of those fantastic people and for my tremendous partner all season long, Dr. Megan Matthews-Bunning. I'm Sean Davison signing off from Tallahassee, where the Seminoles cinch the series and win Game 4, 4-1 over the Wolfpack. Have a great weekend, everybody.